That's what they exhale. We're inhaling this stuff. They inhale carbon dioxide. And the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is like 0.03%. It's a very small combination compared to Mars, which is almost all carbon dioxide. And the reactivity between gases like methane in the atmosphere and I think it's methane and hydrogen, or methane and CO2, I forget. But the overarching idea is that these gases in the atmosphere are constantly reacting with each other, and if you just left them alone and life wasn't involved in that, they would gradually dissipate and sort of wipe each other out and settle gradually into a state of thermodynamic equilibrium, as Mars has. So it's life, it's the chemical metabolic activities of life on this planet that is continually maintaining the atmosphere so that life can stay on the planet and survive on the planet. Okay, what's that saying? That's saying that the planet itself has an overarching mind that is such that it's capable of maintaining the salinity, the levels of salinity in the seas. It's capable, there are these little sea creatures called diatoms who give off a gas called dimethyl sulfide, which plays a role in the formation of clouds. And the clouds give the Earth its albedo cover, which reflects excess heat and sunlight back into outer space to keep the temperature cool on the planet. So Lovelock, and together with Margulis, began to see ways in which the bacteria on our planet and the plant world are holding this whole thing together in a marvelously beautiful way. And not only that, but have slowly structured the planet the way it is over time. And so Thompson was introduced to that whole Gaia hypothesis as a result of the work of these two, and that really captured his imagination. He finally found the kind of cosmology that he was looking for that he couldn't find at MIT, with a sort of fascination with, on the other hand, sort of destroying all of this with technological solutions that have no regard for these ecological balances, which, however, are not quite so delicate as ecologists normally like to portray them. According to Lynn Margulis, and she gets into a lot of trouble with ecologists for this, Gaia is a tough bitch, and we have to get this idea out of our mind that Gaia is this weak, frail, feminine woman, this outdated conception of woman, that if we just hit her around enough, she'll sort of fall meekly into submission and collapse. Her idea is that this planet has been put together by Gaia, and if she sees fit, she'll just wipe us out. She may be in process of doing that right now with the greenhouse effect, the response to the greenhouse effect, shooting all of this excess carbon dioxide into the atmosphere through the burning of fossil fuels, through chlorofluorocarbons, which are emitted from aerosol spray cans. That greenhouse effect is essentially cooking the planet up and disrupting all of these global temperature differences such that you get, 30 hurricanes instead of 1 or 2, and you get them in August instead of September. You get the kind of phenomena that we saw in that movie, The Perfect Storm, which is an incredible phenomenon. You get record heat waves, and we've had the hottest years on record in the past since the 1980s. The 7 or 8 hottest years on record have been recorded. So we're really screwing this planet up, but and from a certain point of view, we're screwing it up for ourselves. As far as Lynn Margulis is concerned, Gaia will just restructure without us. We'll just be moved out of the picture. And one way in which she might do that is by reverting back to ice ages to cool herself off. She says that if you look at the way ice ages have been worked out over the past 2 million years, really, ice ages as they stand now are only about 2 million years old. The planet itself is 4.5 billion years old. Life in the form of these little bacteria have been here for 3.5 billion years old. And they may have caused the first ice age 2 billion years ago as a result of restructuring the atmosphere through the invention of photosynthesis. And but the actual ice ages themselves are only about 2 million years old. And Gaia has been sort of reverting to them more and more often. Margulis suggests possibly to cool herself off. She seems to prefer the state of ice ages because actually more of the surface of the continents is exposed because the more water is locked up in the form of glaciers, exposing more land so that you can have more vegetation, and then the more vegetation can contribute to cooling the planet off better. And so she thinks that there's a possibility that it looks as though something is happening here in a kind of apocalyptic sense. And the response to the greenhouse effect may be an earlier reversion to this ice age than we expect. On the other hand, the other response could be the melting of the glaciers, as in that Kevin Costner movie Waterworld, where the glaciers are melted, the sea levels rise globally, and we begin to lose coastal cities, and they begin to sort of drown, and we have a new kind of reversion to a kind of slushy tropical world. That's pictured in a J.G. Ballard novel called The Drowned World. So those are the kind of apocalyptic scenarios that Margulis and Lovelock sort of forecast for us. They're about as gloomy as Spengler's predictions, only they're from an ecological point of view. And this is the sort of world that Thompson writes about in his books from a scientific perspective. Now, with respect to Thompson's theory of culture. Thompson, in his earlier works, in his first great book is this thing called The Time Falling Bodies Take to Light, which is, it's a sort of look at the phases of human history, the way in which Campbell has done a similar sort of thing. And it's sort of before he's really been saturated with all of this new science and stuff. But then the next most important book is Pacific Shift, where he works out these 4 cultural ecologies that we'll talk about. Just quickly, we have the riverine cultural ecology, the Mediterranean cultural ecology, and the Atlantic cultural ecology, and the one we're in now, which he calls processual. He actually can't seem to nail down a name for it because he calls it processual planetary, biospheric. And in that book he articulated these 4 cultural ecologies, but recently he's added 3 more to sort of link these back up to the prehistoric situation, where we have the ancient forest cultural ecology, the Savannian, not sure how to spell that, and the glacial. Savannian. I don't even know how to spell Savannian. So the forest cultural ecology sort of stretches back 65 million years ago. You can sort of draw it with the extinction of the dinosaurs. 65 million years ago, comet hits the Earth. The dinosaurs are wiped out. Well, what usually happens is nature always remembers what she's done before. She doesn't usually just trash things. She just sort of begin producing this hominid. And if we sort of say that Ramapithecus is the archetypal hominid, the archetypal animal, we have this being sort of living up within this canopy of forest, this sort of forest canopy, which is a compressive environment, emphasizing olfaction. The sense of smell is primary. And the limbic system, the midbrain, with its sort of emotional nurturing, and it's very deeply mammalian and very sort of, the pineal gland is there, and it's still sort of light sensitive. So this is the sort of early cultural ecology, which is compressive, whereas the next one, the Savannian, is expansive, because there's a change in climate that kills off forests, and then you get this expansion into these wide open Savannian fields, and you get the shift into bipedalism, and the sort of hominids are pushed down out of the trees, and now the primary emphasis is on the sense of sight rather than the sense of smell, because you need to be able to peer up above the tall grass to see what might be coming for you, or conversely what you can hunt. So the emphasis now shifts from the sense of sight. You have an upright posture, opposable thumbs. Women can carry their children now, in which they need to be on the move all the time. And you have this haptic emphasis on the hands, on picking up things, on holding things, and that gradually leads to the formation of stone tools and all of that. So that's the Savannian, briefly. Then you get the next catastrophe there is the shift into the Ice Age. And if we sort of just say this is the most recent Ice Age, the one that ended in 10,000 BC, you have the shift into the glacial cultural ecology, which again now is a compressive ecology. You get this compressed environment now. And the emphasis now is on the skin, on proprioception and the wearing of animal skins. And so now we're back into the sort of magical consciousness structure, the way of the animal powers, the relationship to the animal world, the living in these sort of mammoth bone huts and in the caves, and the need for the sort of animal skins to keep warm. And you have also during this period, though, the first great universal religion, which is the religion of the Great Mother, which stretches from Iberia to Siberia. And it truly is the world's first universal religion during the glacial period, rather than this local tribal thing, because we found these figurines all through that culture arc there. From Spain, clear over to Malta and Russia, you can find all these little goddess figurines. And she truly was the primary icon, probably the personification of the source from which all the animal forms were endlessly pouring forth.